What's up, everyone? Welcome to Aftermath TV or after what? I can't keep saying Aftermath TV because we're not on TV. Aftermath stream or something.
But it's still
Aftermath at home.
it's the hashtag though. You got to use it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What's up, boys? How are you guys doing? I got Anthony Corelli here, Nug, and Jimmy Corderas.
Good,
Good.
very good.
Yeah.
Apologize for Tuesday. I was getting my car repaired, and I thought it was noon, and it was 10. And anyway, I'm sorry I missed it, you guys. I missed you guys.
Uh,
Yeah, brakes are working better than ever.
oh, nice, nice. Well, am I not mistaken? Is it today that's National Book Day?
That
Or
was
is it?
yesterday.
It was yesterday. Damn it! It's okay. One day late. Okay, so overdue book day. Just you can see in the background here. This is my next project, The Eighth Wonder of the World, Andre the Giant,
Nice.
written by my good friends in Quebecois over there, land there, and it. The first few pages are any indication this is going to be good.
And Jimmy, you wrote your own book, so talk about your own book too. As I think that's like one of the biggest accomplishments someone can do.
Yeah, it took a while because trying to go from verbalizing things
Hmm.
to putting it on paper is not easy, and I finally decided that just do it in my own voice as opposed to trying to sound like a writer is probably the easiest way to do it.
You actually wrote the whole thing yourself?
Yeah, actually, I did.
Oh,
Believe it or not.
wow.
Yeah.
Jimmy, that's actually really good to because I'm writing something too, so maybe I have to message you or call you and get some tips on how to make the process a little bit more
Ooh.
conversational. Like it's got to be authentic to your voice. So I'm gonna actually hit you up and get some tips if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
that's what I no, absolutely anytime. That's what I tried to do. I just tried to make it sound like me telling a story if I could. You know.
Okay, amazing. And Nug,
Ah,
Come on. Wow.
ah,
But was it supposed to have no reference picture?
interesting. Ah, hmm.
That's hard, man.
Yeah, I can
Well, I guess you
imagine.
have the time, so that's
all right, guys, what do you want to start talking about? Do we think it's only fitting to start talking about Triple H and a
yeah.
big anniversary that he has tonight on SmackDown?
Yeah, and if is this only just the first like episode of the celebration? Is it more than 1 week? I'm not sure. But yeah, 25 years and that's a hell of a career for anybody. But in the case of Triple H, being fortunate to be there when he first entered the company and watching him from day one and seeing right away that this was a young, hungry individual who wanted to learn and wanted to absorb, and he was a sponge. And although he followed all the protocols in the locker room and that sort of stuff, he also wasn't afraid to ask questions, especially from, you know, his peers. He wasn't afraid to say, "Hey, like what would you do?" And of course, his mentor, Ric Flair, and stuff like that. And watching him grow to becoming not only one of the top superstars in the industry, but also one of the most influential guys behind the scenes. It's an amazing story.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at his career just as a wrestler, it's already incredible, right?
Mhm.
Hall of Fame career. And if you look at his career as an executive in the company, it's incredible. But people often, when they look at him and they kind of analyze or assess his career, they look at those things separate. He was a wrestler and he's a businessman, but you really got to put them together. And
Yep.
when you put them together, he surpasses almost everybody in terms of his impact on the business.
And I always think about how the story with the clique, how they like cherry picked him. They watched WCW and were like, "We want that guy." They all were like, "That guy needs to be here." And it's crazy to think that they picked him and then he became as big as he is, not even as a wrestler, but just in the company. Like to go from Terra Ryzing to where he is now is insane to think. I don't know if it could happen today.
I think that speaks volumes about Triple H as a human being and how versatile and talented he is. Because you have some pro athletes like Maradona, for example, who, in my opinion, was the best soccer player to ever play the game. But then when he goes to coach a soccer team, when he went to go coach Argentina at the World Cup, he didn't really know what he was doing, So then you got Triple H, who was essentially a player. He was in WWE, competing legendary matches, someone that everyone looked up to. And then on the other side of things, he's also made himself a legend, basically on the forefront with NXT and other areas as well. So I think that speaks volumes about someone who can actually play and be an athlete and then come out of that and still create legendary moments. I think that speaks volumes about Triple H and his mentality and character and everything he's done in WWE.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love the analogy you used about Maradona. Obviously one of the greatest soccer players ever to play the game. And when you look at any sport, whether it's hockey or the NFL or the NBA, the coaches of all these teams, for the most part, are generally not your superstar hockey players or football players. Or it's usually I'm going to use a Bobby Heenan term for Nug over there. It's usually the ham and egger guys that end up becoming the better coaches, the guys who are not seen as the big superstars because they understand and grasp the concept of the game. It's a different thing all completely. Yes, there are guys who are superstars that can coach. Triple H, perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You got a Shawn Michaels, guys like that, but not everybody can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're completely independent of one another. All three things, being a businessman is completely independent from being how good you were as a wrestler or as a coach, and they're all independent. So it's like he's accomplished three things in one, And he's a coach, but every little tidbit he gave me backstage, hey, think of doing this, or this is what's good. Everything was it was 100% right. He's so smart. He's so smart. I love talking with him. Some of the long conversations on some of the tours, we're just talking about training and the technology, and that's like into body, because he's a bodybuilding fan too. And I like to bug him sometimes, where I'm like, that suit is not hiding the fact that you're like a barbarian underneath his jack, And
Sorry, I just want to also acknowledge our Aftermath fans who are here in the chat. I don't think we did that off the top. So I wanted to say hi to everyone. We hope you're doing really well and staying healthy and staying inside. And it's always so great when you guys, even just comments, not even questions, just comments in the chat. It's so cool to connect with you guys. So we have a really good question in here about Triple H. So I'm going to ask it to you guys, to everyone in the Aftermath crew. Who do you find is Triple H's best rival of all time?
Ooh, that's hard
Rock?
to pick. He had a great rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He had a great one with The Rock, like Anthony said. But when Shawn came back in 2002 SummerSlam, and it, for those who don't know, it was going to be a one and done for Shawn. He wasn't sure if he was going to continue. And after that match with Triple H, they continued the rivalry and they kept going. There's just too many to pick from. How do you pick one? I don't know.
Would you rate Triple H over Hulk Hogan?
It's tough because Hogan was more. I don't know if Triple H ever got the mainstream attention that Hulk Hogan got. Hulk Hogan, like everyone knew Hulk Hogan all over the world, even if you didn't watch wrestling. I don't know if Triple H ever got that high, but certainly a lot of people know who he is. I mean, they know who he is with long blonde hair. I don't know if they'd recognize him now.
Yeah, well, Triple H has done quite a few movies, and also he's been on Fallon and I don't know, Conan O'Brien or whatever. He's been on a lot of talk shows, so he's pretty mainstream, but nothing is as mainstream as Hulk Hogan.
No, Hulk Hogan is a pop culture icon. And there are very few people that are that, especially coming out of the professional wrestling / sports entertainment industry. Is Triple H a great, tremendous superstar? Does he deserve consideration as one of the best ever? Absolutely. But Hulk Hogan was in an era where it's just completely apples and oranges.
Yeah, when less is more. When you only had 12 channels on the television, if you were on one of those channels, that was a big deal.
Yep.
Now there's 1,000. There's 1,000 channels, or in the 90s there was hundreds. It's a little less significant. But again, if you add on the executive part of it, he surpasses Hulk Hogan in terms of his impact on the business.
True.
All right, guys.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe let's talk about our favorite Triple H moments and what stands out the most in your mind when you hear Triple H.
Oh wow! Again,
Jimmy, you mentioned a good one when he returned from injury in 2002 at MSG, and how
yeah.
that stands out in your mind as one of the most iconic, maybe, returns that a superstar done. And didn't he like tear his quad muscle off of his bone?
Yes, and there was that question mark on whether he'd be able to rehab it enough to return. And man, as Anthony said, he's a big workout fan, and he worked very hard to come back and to come back at Madison Square Garden and to get the reaction he did. You know, you talk about Hulk Hogan's, you talk about The Rock. That reaction that night was absolutely insane. And I know it sounds cliche, but you can literally feel the arena shaking. And you can and watching on the monitor, everybody in the back is going, "No, he's going to do it. He's going." You almost thought, "Oh, we're going to see a tear. He's got to be the tough guy. He's got to be the game. He's got to be Triple H." Rah! But is he going to? He felt it. He felt
Yeah,
it.
Jimmy,
That was an amazing moment.
talk a little bit about what you think Triple H felt. Like, you were so close to that moment. Like, could you almost feel or have a glimpse into what it felt like to be him in that moment? Like, how unbelievable, all that adrenaline and emotion. And, aside from the fact that he's returning, but he knows how hard he had to work to rehab. Tearing a quad muscle off your bone, that's insane. Like, so I feel all of that together must have been such an unbelievable moment for him and you guys to be a part of.
No, it was insane, and everybody felt so genuinely good for him. I mean, obviously the Click members were happy for him, but the entire locker room and everybody talks about the cliche of the WWE being a family. Everybody's got each other's backs, regardless of whether you tick this guy off on this particular occasion or somebody rubs somebody the wrong way. At the end of the day, the boys are the boys and the girls are the girls. Everybody's one. They do look after each other, and you could tell that everybody felt really genuinely good for Triple H and getting that reaction. And I think almost, I don't want to speak for him, but you could almost sense that before going out, he had that, okay, I wonder what the reaction is going to be. Are they going to boo me out of the place? Because he was a bad guy when he got injured. So, but when he came back and that massive reaction and everybody going nuts, I think it changed the game.
Yeah, it's interesting because fans allow themselves to get into it and they suspend their disbelief and all that stuff. But there's also that um, nostalgia, that respect side. When there's a significant superstar, a good guy or a bad guy that's gone, and they come back, it's not like, yay, our hero's back. Yay, somebody that is really good at this is back.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned actually he wasn't sure how he was going to be received, and it's big. The thing that's kind of good and bad with this industry, it's like a high speed merry-go-round. And good luck getting on because it doesn't stop, and good luck getting off because it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And I mean, there have been super significant superstars that left and the show continued without skipping a beat. So the fact that the show continues without missing a beat it's not insulting, but it's kind of like, wow, the program wasn't even affected by my absence because there's so many other guys there to fill in that void. So I can play games with your mind a bit in terms of, man, like the ratings didn't change. Was I even that important? Did I matter as much as I thought I did because they didn't mention me on TV? That kind of thing. So, but he definitely got the response that he wanted. Plus, he came back jacked and shredded and really dialed in his diet. I remember my brother telling me, Triple H came back. He's ripped. And when I saw it, I'm like, wow, he was ripped. And then as he got older, he continued to develop. I think we talked about it one time when he was wrestling the Undertaker. He adapted his training because when you're young, you just lift weights and the athletic stuff just comes from wrestling. But when you have all this time off, you got to train with a lot of functional training and movement. And later in his career, like a few years ago, he looked incredible. Like his hips opened up, his shoulders, his back. He was really flexible, really, really loose, and he looked healthy. Because sometimes the more weights you lift, the stiffer you get. And you can't be stiff in wrestling. When you're stiff, you tear things. So he definitely looked like he made some positive changes to his workout routine.
When I come out of quarantine, I'm gonna be shredded like Triple H too. So you guys
No,
watch
I'm
out.
gonna watch
You're going to
out.
be shredded.
Look, I'm shredded.
Could you imagine?
Actually, I've been skipping rope, and it's hard, man. I do 1 minute more every day, so like 13 minutes today, tomorrow 14 minutes straight.
Me too,
And
Anthony. Me too. The skipping ropes actually much harder than by the end of it, my face is actually really red. So
dude,
I'm
it's
with you there.
hard. The
It is
first time I
hard.
did,
I
try
only
5 minutes straight. It's hard.
I only have trouble when they do the double Dutch thing. You know.
That is hard. That is, I'm with you guys.
I've been building up to get to 100 push-ups. So like straight, 100 straight, and I started off at like I don't know 57. I'm up to 77 straight now. So
You guys don't want to see my push-ups.
No.
why?
They're bad. They're really bad.
Well,
Any other Triple H moments that you guys want to talk about? Maybe until like before we start talking about something else.
oh
I,
man,
wa-
I have a
I
lot of Triple H moments.
I gotta say, when I was being a fan of as long as I have, when he was champion in 2000, there's one match that sticks in my head, and I don't know why. It was him against Taka Michinoku on Raw, and the APA were involved, and Shane and Stephanie were involved, and then I want to say Bull Buchanan and the Big Boss Man were involved. Like there was a lot of moving parts in this thing, but Taka Michinoku, who you thought didn't have a chance, looked like he had a shot at beating Triple H in that match in 2000. I want to say it was April. I have to look it up, but
Mm-hmm.
it was so good. It just sticks in my mind because here comes Taka was about this big and Triple H looked about this big, and it was bananas. Taka was bouncing all over the place. Triple H was thrown off. It was fantastic. And that goes to show you, I think that was where I think I started appreciating Triple H as a wrestler more than just as a guy who could come out and talk and beat people up. He's excellent in the ring, and he gets a bad rap for burying guys here and there, and it's
Yeah.
nothing. He's excellent. He's very giving in the ring, and I don't know why I think about that match. When I think about Triple H, I see him against Taka Michinoku.
I love that you said that he's very giving in the ring,
Yeah.
and people don't realize that, and they have this misconception about that, but they also don't see how giving he is outside the ring. And I'm not trying to bring this down, but there are two specific incidents for me personally that hit me very hard when I was working at WWE. Obviously, A, Owen Hart, and B, Eddie Guerrero. Those were personally tremendous losses for me, and one of the first guys who came to me in both circumstances in a comforting role was Triple H, and it was so it affected me so much personally that I don't know, I can't describe the feeling. It was amazing.
When there was no when people were doing both TVs whatever, we were on the road 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we were only home for a day and a half, and I was getting burnt out, and I needed a break, and a contract was up and for renegotiation. I was talking with him, and I broke down in front of him, and I was explaining I just need a break because I'm missing my daughter's life, and he was just awesome to talk to. He was quiet and he understood, and he gave me 6 months to go and just be with my family a little bit. And at first I was a little embarrassed, like I just cried in front of Triple H, but he was awesome. I'll never forget that. He was so understanding, and he said, he said, I get it. My little girls are growing up really fast too, and at one time in Australia, so we've been out partying with lots of wrestlers. It's kind of no big deal. But one time, Triple H came out to a nightclub in Australia, and we were in the limousine together. And I remember the feeling where I'm like, man, this is Triple H. This is cool. He doesn't come out much. And it was just a different vibe that night when everybody went out because Triple H was in the house. It was pretty fun.
Anthony, what was it like? And Jimmy, I'm sure you can speak to this too. To have someone in a pretty demanding industry really care about you as a human being and care about the fact that you feel like you're missing out on your daughter growing up, and maybe also appreciate the fact that you were able to be vulnerable in front of him, because we all know that that's not very common in every work life situation.
Sorry,
Yeah.
was that to me or Jimmy?
Yeah, both of you guys.
No, no, go ahead, AC. It's fine. Go.
Well, a lot of the wrestlers. One thing I think, for me anyway, one of the things that we really bond with is the fact that we miss our families, and we're on the road and the European tours. And before, when you would have a loop, 2-week tour, come back to America and do another loop, That's like 21 days. And then you go home for a day and a half and on the road again. So there's times when it's bad, it's tough. You miss everything. So I just find that that's even cousins and baptisms and birthdays and weddings, name it, you miss it, Um, so that's one thing that we really bond over a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, showing pictures, and even our dogs and stuff. We're all just looking at, and it's funny because then when you see somebody you haven't seen in a couple of years, it's always like, how's so and so, and how's this, and how's, oh my God, he's in high school, I can't believe it, and that kind of thing. So it's important. It's something we share in
Yeah.
when you've been on the road for so long.
Yeah, and there's also this perception, like when you're traveling so much too, for all the talent on the road, to put on that game face, and not show the stresses of the road and the trials, and everybody's going through their own stuff. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own things at home that they're dealing with,
Yeah.
but they're not
Yeah.
there to deal with them. So you have to put on the game face. You have to put on that brave face, and as we say, not put it over that you're stressing, that you're feeling this, and you have to look like you're having you're in it's game, it's go time all the time. And bring it back again to Hunter and Triple H. He was one of the few guys you could go to, like Anthony did, and sit down and talk to him in a private way, and express your concerns and express your feelings. There were guys like him, guys like Taker, the locker room leaders, and he was one of those guys. And it wasn't one of those deals where, I hope he doesn't go and tell the office or something like that.
He is the office.
He is the office.
Well, now.
Now, yeah, but even back
Yeah.
then, he had that influence where he can, okay, let me take care of this. I'll come back.
So even last year at SummerSlam when it was in Toronto, I went down to I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. And he's busy. He's around the ring. People are doing rehearsals, waiting for producers to get down there. And he popped and said, "Hey, man!" And we talked for like 45 minutes,
It's
like
awesome.
in the middle of his workday. I just thought that was
That's
so cool, man.
That's awesome, guys. We have 1.4 thousand people watching our stream on
Hey,
Facebook.
cool.
All right.
WWE
Thank you.
fans, you're awesome.
That's
Anyone
fantastic.
who's on here, thanks so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
We're getting to your questions now. I see them. I have literally like 3 windows opened up trying to keep up with all the questions. So thank you, everyone. We're going to get to them, I promise. And Nug, since you're the biggest WWE fan I know,
Oh, boy.
I'll direct this one at you.
Oh boy.
When you look at Triple H's career, who was his biggest rival?
Jimmy mentioned Sean, which is very true. But one that really sticks out, I think, because as we said before, Jimmy, he really gives. Like if you get in the ring with him, you end up at his level. His WrestleMania match against Randy Orton and the evolution of the punt and Randy becoming just an evil person, all because of Triple H. That whole thing put Randy up at the top. That made Randy Orton a superstar. And I still think back to that. If they ever cross paths, like just on the ramp or just backstage, you just see a look between them, and like that will never be done. Randy Orton can fight a million people, but I just want to see him fight Triple H one last time. For my money, that's one of the more memorable rivalries he ever had.
And talk about two specimens of like huge people.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. I look at Randy Orton and I'm like, he's massive. Triple H to me is like one of the bigger people I've seen. Also bulkiness. Braun Strowman's pretty big. Drew McIntyre's pretty big. Whenever I interview those guys, I'm like holding the mic up like this. But Triple H and Randy Orton are just like, I think Anthony said it the best, like shredded. Cut.
He's humongous, yeah.
Yeah, and
He's very methodical.
And not just the size, it's also the athleticism. I mean, like, yes, you can have a big guy who lumbers around, but the athleticism involved in both those guys, you take a guy like Mark Henry, for example. Everybody looks at him, oh, he's big Mark Henry, he's the world's strongest man. But can he? Yeah, Mark can move for a guy his size. Yeah, it was incredible when we first saw him. I'm going to go off the rails here.
Good.
Watching him do the frying pan, where he'd roll the frying pans with his hands. So they thought they'd rib him one day on SmackDown, where they were going to show this on television. So they got the thickest frying pan they could find in the store.
Lagostina.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but it was one of these ones that they swear could not
stainless steel,
could not be bent. So they gave it to Mark, and they were filming this. And Mark went, and he usually doesn't have much of a problem. He's pretty good at getting it going, and it wasn't going. And you can hear snickering in the background, and you can see Mark's demeanor change quickly.
Was it like a cartoon? You could see like the thermometer go up.
Oh my
and then he
goodness! You might
blows
as well
his top.
just seen it go like this, and then all of a sudden he torqued down, and in this rage that we've never seen, and he turned it into like a cone, and he held it up like this. Anyways, never mind.
Yeah, Mark Henry's strength is absolutely incredible. It's like it's superhuman. He's the closest thing to a superhero.
Yeah.
In terms of his strength, it's insane.
Yeah.
One time I asked him, I said, Mark, I'm going to keep going on this tangent. I said, can you just squeeze my hand? Like, I want to feel the grip. And he goes, okay. And he slowly went and just slowly got tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Okay. I go, my God, you almost broke my bones just from squeezing. Just squeezing.
And he wasn't even close to full strength.
It was like the pneumatic jaws of life squeeze. It just wasn't going to stop.
You should have hit him with the Cobra.
That was the Cobra hand.
Was the Cobra in traction for a while after that?
Yeah, the boa constrictor was beating the Cobra.
The Cobra was a neck brace. That would have been awesome.
Real fast, real dumb Mark Henry. We met him. Jimmy and I did an interview with him at SummerSlam, and then we ended up backstage. And I had brought donuts to the interview, and Mark thought that was the best. And then we show up at SummerSlam backstage, and Mark's immediately beelines for the catering, and he's starting to put all this food on. And I just walk up beside him. And I'm looking at his plate, and I'm looking at him, and I don't say anything. And he doesn't look at me, and he's just going, Nug, don't say a word. Don't say anything. And he just kept putting food on his plate. Nug, don't say anything. It was very funny.
Yeah. So he's he was about 420 pounds when he was on the road. You know, that was his cruising weight.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at a gas station in Texas, and they had, I think it's called Blue Bunny ice cream. And it's his childhood favorite. And I saw a 420-pound child get all giddy and go, oh, they got Blue Bunny. Oh, they got Blue Bunny. And it was awesome, man.
That's amazing. All right, guys, everyone tune into SmackDown tonight because happy 25th anniversary, Triple H. It's going to be really awesome to see. But right now, there's a lot of questions in the Facebook chat and YouTube chat about some of the female superstars and obviously Money in the Bank. So first one from Brady is, what does Dana Brooke need to do in the Money in the Bank match to show you she belongs in a feud with Bayley or Sasha Banks? And I believe we said this a couple months ago, but how impressed we are with Dana Brooke and how much she's improved. So I'm interested actually to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I think that's what she has to do, is to continue to improve and evolve, because, you know, it's easy to sit back and say, well, you can't be complacent. You can't, especially in this industry. You have to keep moving forward. And this year's Money in the Bank is presenting some unique circumstances. Mm-hmm. So this is an opportunity for her to think outside the box and maybe create a moment for herself that even if she doesn't win the Money in the Bank contract, people look back at the match and say, hey, do you remember when Dana Brooke did this? Mm-hmm. She needs that moment, I think.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting phenomenon with Dana Brooke and most of the girls that come from the fitness industry, because they weren't wrestling fans. They don't have that subconscious database of hundreds of matches, thousands of matches they've watched on TV to draw from. So they get there, and so for example, I remember Ricky Steamboat telling me he didn't get it until 2,000 matches or something like that, and I was like, that's insane. Like 2,000 matches. That's like years and years of working every day. Mm-hmm. And then it clicked for me at around 1,000. I go, okay. You know, I thought I got it after 40 matches. And then you realize, oh my God, I don't know anything. And then you think you get it, and then you think you get it, and you're not bad, but then you really get it after. Anyway, so it's going to take years of Dana Brooke being on the road, doing live events, mm-hmm. until she gets that. But then you have to, you know, superimpose that with a finite lifespan in the business. Mm-hmm. So for example, let's say she has a 7-year run. She's going to be really good at 5, 6, and 7 kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Near the end. So it's a race against the clock. Is she going to get, and she's going to constantly get better. And is she going to get better before she gets too old kind of thing? You know, and not in a negative way, but there's an age where you go right out, you know, you get too old, right?
When Dana Brooke was in NXT, she was Charlotte's sidekick for a while. And that's how we got to know her as Charlotte's sidekick. And then when Charlotte went away, she was, I think, paired up with somebody else. And then when she came to the main roster, she was Dana Brooke for a while, but then became somebody's sidekick and then became also part of Titus Worldwide. And it's always been somebody and also Dana Brooke. And I don't know if she's ever gotten out of that. It'd be nice to see something happen at Money in the Bank that makes us realize, oh, she's her own person. She's not, and also Dana Brooke. It's you can name all the people in this match. Like Nia Jax has done a lot. Shayna Baszler is someone to be feared. Asuka is someone to be feared, and also Dana Brooke is in the match. We need to have Dana do something to show that she's on the same level as these people.
Well, the fact that we're talking about her shows that she has some momentum. There's some chatter and buzz around her. She's constantly improving. In the beginning, you know what? I'll be honest, I didn't have the time of day for her in-ring stuff because she just didn't have enough experience.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, she has really improved, and I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
And also, when she did the Titus Worldwide, I saw an entertainment aspect to her that I thought, wow, she's really entertaining. And now she just dialed in. You see her physique lately?
Yep.
She's getting cap shoulders. She looks great. So whatever she's doing, because it can be overwhelming. You know, you get up there and you feel like you're in the back of the line. And there's always 10 people in line, and they're only serving the first 6 every day.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, well, how do I get up in the head of the line? Anyway, whatever she did, she changed gears. She took it serious. She's getting noticed, and she's getting her opportunities. So this could be the time. Peaks and valleys, baby.
Awesome.
If Captain Analogy could use one really quickly here, it's like being an air traffic controller and you're watching your screen. And there's a lot of blips on the radar that really aren't catching your attention, other than the fact that, oh, there's a plane here, there's a plane there, there's a plane here, there's a plane. But then there's that one plane that comes out of nowhere, and you go, oh, what is that plane doing there? And you pay attention. That's what Dana Brooke needs to be. That plane that shows up on the radar where the guy watching the radar goes,
Shved, what do you think about that analogy?
I love Aftermath analogy. You guys, I make mental, you know what I need to do? I need to start recording them in my phone in the notes section and just use them, because your guys' analogies, especially when Anthony does ones with like salads, it's the best. Every time.
Shved's going to start using them incorrectly, and people are going to look at her like,
right now she's the lettuce. She needs to be the bacon.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I always mess them up.
Why'd you say bacon? Damn.
Okay, guys, we have so many good questions here about the female superstars. So I'm going to try go one by one. Steven and Mark are both asking about Sasha Banks and Bayley. Do we see them feuding anytime soon? And do we see Sasha and Bayley turning on each other?
This is a thing that has been going on forever. And one turns on the other. It happened in NXT. And then we're all just waiting, right? You're waiting and waiting and waiting for this to happen. And when it doesn't happen after a while, you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm done waiting. And it just fizzles out. And I don't know if anybody would care if either of them turned on each other. We don't like Nasty Bayley, and I don't know about blue-haired Sasha being anybody's favorite because she came back and did nothing. So it's a very odd place to be, where these two superstars who 3-4 years ago everybody was like, these are the future champions of it. I don't care about either of them now.
I got it. I just figured it out. Did you see the movie The Dark Crystal?
Yes.
Doesn't Sasha kind of look like the female in that?
Maybe.
A little bit, yeah. But the thing is, they're always combined. Whether they're feuding or a team, they're somehow always linked.
Yeah.
I think it would be just refreshing for them to go their separate ways, have a rivalry for a year with somebody else, and then reconvene later. Then there'll be some nostalgia value.
Sorry I cut you off there, Caroline, but
that's okay.
You're just playing off what Nug was saying too. You know, I'm all for planting seeds and watering and nurturing and letting it grow slowly and take your time with it. But sometimes you let things go too long, and by the time you get to the bloom, let's say, of the plant, nobody cares.
You know what it is for me, and Raymond brings this up in the YouTube conversation, that Bayley needs to go back as, you know, the nice guy, because I don't believe that she's a mean person at all, and it just doesn't translate for me at all when she's in the ring or even when she's doing a promo, because she's probably a very, very good person to her core. Not saying that no one else isn't, but sometimes it might just be harder for someone. I'm not invested in the Sasha Banks Bayley storyline. I'm for me right now, Money in the Bank, whatever. The only thing I really, really, really want right now in the women's division is Asuka to win Money in the Bank. And someone else brings that up in our YouTube conversation. She could really help the women's division right now. I would love to see her back in the picture. I talk about it all the time on these streams. I think that she's at the forefront of Raw right now. She's super exciting. She's shown everyone that she doesn't need an audience to have fun or still have, everyone's attention on her. She's dancing, she's screaming, she's talking in a different language. And meanwhile, we don't understand what she's saying, but we're still listening. We're still watching her. I think that speaks volumes about what she's doing. So for me right now, Sasha and Bayley are kind of like in the background. I still love them as individual superstars, but like my focus right now is on like the Nia Jaxes, the Taminas, the Asukas, Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Like to me, those women are kind of like next level right now for me. They've set the bar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's it called? There's a difference also between a real evil villain as opposed to like a sulky, sucky.
Yes.
So Bailey comes off as like just a little bit spoiled or sucky. That's not really like a villain. That's just
it's a crybaby.
Crybaby, yeah.
Gotcha.
Either be a good baby or a crybaby.
No, that's actually probably the perfect way to put it, Anthony. You're so smart. You're so smart. Let's see what other questions people have in here. Anything else you guys want to talk? Let's talk a little bit about Money in the Bank. Jimmy, yeah. I remember you saying that you love the fact that superstars need to qualify, and there's a bunch of superstars who have already qualified.
Yeah, I like the mix too. We have some veterans like Daniel Bryan, and we have Rey Mysterio. Then we have some guys like Aleister Black has qualified, and like Apollo Crews, which caught me a little off guard. But again, here's the potential, like Dana Brooke, someone who could make their moment in this Money in the Bank match under unique circumstances. So this is his opportunity to establish himself. Let's be honest, I don't see him actually winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, but at the same time, like I've said before, you don't have to go over to get over.
There's sometimes we watch these Money in the Bank matches, and there's somebody in there that's like the wild card, the underdog, the one that we don't expect to win. And every year we go, oh, I wonder what would happen if that guy won it? Like, and our brains start to work and work and work. And I've always said like Apollo Snooze. I've called him Apollo Snooze forever. He's not my favorite wrestler. But that match against Aleister Black on Raw kind of woke him up. I think he's looking great. And I like that he's in this match. Now, I've been an understudy for a bunch of theater shows in the years, and I always joked that, well, if enough people fall down or get hit by a bus, I'm in, And right now, with the way things are, there's a lot of people not there, and Apollo Crews is in. And I love that Apollo Crews is in, and this could be his shot. This could be where, much like Dana Brooke in that Money in the Bank match, he doesn't need to win it. He just needs to show he belongs there. And he's got a real good chance. That match against Aleister Black on Raw showed that he belongs on Raw. Just show me you belong in that crazy match at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting opportunities because there are, I imagine with regards to the travel restrictions, people that live in the outskirts or the far, like, okay, right now the PC is in Orlando, Florida. And a lot of guys that go to, before it was FCW, then it was NXT, they come from wherever, they enjoy the Florida lifestyle, and they stay. So a lot of guys can drive to the Performance Center and wrestle. So there's a lot of opportunities because some guys, they might be like Daniel Bryan. I think he was even living in Washington State for a while. Mm-hmm. That's a trek, especially in these conditions. So there could be some opportunities from some guys that happen to live locally. And whatever, man, when you're given those opportunities, you have to seize them. He's incredible. He's super powerful, athletic. He's good looking. He has all. He just needs something.
He's got the Ricochet syndrome, I will call it, because I think Ricochet is one of the most talented in-ring performers on the roster. He's in that upper class, but at the same time, he needs that personality, that character. That's something that will connect him with the audience. Other than his in-ring ability, you need that extra something.
Yeah. So when they teach guys to do promos now, they don't want them to sound like a wrestling promo. Let
me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, we're gonna meet and we're gonna see, and they don't want that. So they say just be yourself. But if yourself is really boring, maybe don't be yourself. You know what I mean?
Be somebody else.
Yeah. Or just jazz it up, fire up a little bit,
Eh,
and have
well,
some emotion. If you're a relaxed guy, and I was actually used as a bad example one time. I did an interview. Vince called me out. We had a whole meeting, and we're talking about how to do media properly. And he showed an interview of me in character, and he's great. The hosts were laughing. It was some morning show somewhere, and then he showed me not in character for Chin in Toronto, right? And I was just being me, and it was dull and it was boring. And he stopped it and goes, "That's not what I want you to do." He said that was so boring. And so anyway, I've always done interviews after in character, but that's true. The real me being chill and being like, I'm a down to earth guy. It was boring. It came across bad on TV. So you got to fire up, man. Wake up,
That's
these
what
guys.
Anthony says to all of us before Aftermath. Don't be boring today. Don't be yourselves. And that's the pep talk we
Keep
get.
People are
well,
gonna think that. Don't. That's a joke.
well,
Say
who
just.
said
It's
You
it?
a
gotta say just
joke.
joking.
Yeah,
It's
Oh my
totally
god.
a joke.
who said it
I've
back in
never.
the day? Was it, you know, uh, The Rock was The Rock. He was Dwayne Johnson turned up to 12. Stone Cold Steve Austin was Steve Austin turned up to 12. It's you, but amped up.
And I don't want to. I always hear, you go out there and be The Rock. No. Go out there and be the you.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
yourself. The New Day are themselves.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's why they're fantastic. But if you're out there pretending to be somebody you're not, you're going to flop on your face. Go out there and be yourself.
And it shows.
Mm.
It definitely
Oh,
shows.
I love that. All right. Here's a question you guys will really like. I feel like this one's going to fire Anthony up. From Brad, what's next for Rhea Ripley, and will Bianca Belair shine on the big stage?
Yeah. Rhea Rip. I mean, who knows? But Bianca Belair will shine.
Mhm.
She. I can't believe she hasn't been called up like 2 years ago. I don't know what exactly they're waiting for, because all the early indicators were big star. But I guess you know what? Until dinner's ready, you don't call the kids. There's one
That's
for
a
you.
good one.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
use
Yeah.
that. Until dinner's ready, you don't call the kids.
But then again, like you said earlier, Anthony, sometimes it takes a few years and a lot of matches in under your belt to get it. And maybe Bianca Belair, that star power was there. You saw it early on. Maybe she needed to find that other gear, that something special, and how to put it all together. Same thing with Rhea Ripley. She's still very young and still has
Yeah,
a
and
lot of
there's
time.
something too. If you're smart enough and you're athletic enough, we can get together and we can choreograph and memorize a match. It doesn't have to be, to the end, to the viewers at home, they can't tell the difference
Mhm.
whether or not we know how to work or how to memorize.
Mm.
So some of the early stuff we may have seen, it could have been memorized matches, and they're thinking like, we can't send her out there until she knows how to work. And the transition from memorizing to being able to work, probably to most people would be seamless. They wouldn't be able to tell which is which, but the coaches and producers can. So that's maybe something they also took into consideration. Is she just memorizing, or
Mm.
yeah, I had a course one time. It was called How to Put on a Pro Wrestling Show in 13 Weeks. It was for high school kids, and after 13 weeks, they had a show, and the show was pretty damn good. But they're not workers, professional wrestlers. They were able to put together a match, and there's a difference.
All right, let's talk a little bit because I think we have 15 minutes left. This just flies by, and
Oh, yeah.
it's thanks to you, Aftermath fans and WWE fans, who are on here giving us these excellent questions. We really appreciate it. This is so. I feel like we could go for 2 hours. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sitting here. I'm comfortable. I'm enjoying this. Cash is asleep next to me, so
Oh,
hopefully no one else is asleep on the stream. But let's talk a little bit about Money in the Bank and the fact that it's going to be at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the week with the segments posted up on Sportsnet YouTube, but we can totally mention it right now again. Pros and cons about having both matches in a building with 7 floors. We'll see if they utilize each floor, but essentially all of them, like, they're going to be on the top of a roof. Like, this is insane. I'm excited after seeing WrestleMania 36 when we saw the Boneyard match and then the Firefly Funhouse match. I really don't know what to expect, but if it's anything like that, I can't wait for Money in the Bank. And we always say that sometimes we don't love when we can anticipate and expect something. I'm genuinely excited about this one because I really, again, don't know what's going to happen.
It's fantastic. I think one of the pros is that somebody could, in theory, get a set of suction cups and scale the side of the building up to where the ring is and avoid everybody else and just go and get it while they're all fighting through the building. One of the bad things is you're fighting at head office, and if you smash somebody's desk and that guy's above you on the pay grade, you're done. That guy's firing you and you owe him a new desk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Caroline mentioned there are 7 floors plus 3 parking levels. Maybe we could say, thank goodness this isn't happening at Nakatomi Plaza on Christmas Eve, because that could be a different story altogether. Thank you, Bruce Willis.
Do you think it's going to explode? Like, they are building a new headquarters. Do you think someone's going to bring the building down?
Jimmy,
you never know.
That's exactly what we were talking about earlier in the week, where I was like, why do I have a feeling like this is going to look like Die Hard? And I don't know. I'm like expecting Bruce Willis to be in Money in the Bank. I don't know why I have this feeling.
Like I said,
if Shane's going to go off the building.
I wouldn't put it past him. You know Shane, he will do anything. But like I said, if nobody busts through into Vince's office and they have a little bit of a to do, and Vince is behind that desk with his glasses on and he pulls them down like he does at Gorilla when he pulls them down and he says, "What are you guys doing here, pal?" Then I will be disappointed.
As long as they don't hit the T-Rex head behind him on the wall.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I would like to see somebody open a closet or a door and there just be some old superstar that's been stored there for quite some time.
Yeah. Flick. Can you imagine Flick?
Open it up. Where am I? Like he's been there forever. That'd be great.
Let's talk about some of the difficulties WWE might run into. The fact that both matches are going to be in the same place. You know, it might be a little hard for them to make them different. But I also think that, and this is like a compliment in a way, that they set the bar so high with WrestleMania 36 that it might be hard to achieve that same level of excitement and greatness that we saw in times of adversity. So maybe we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. First of all, the fact that, like you said, Caroline, this match is going to be compared to the Boneyard match that we saw and the Firefly Funhouse match that we saw at WrestleMania. Maybe you can make an argument that this match is happening under these circumstances a little too soon from that. But the challenge, having 2 similar locations for 2 similar matches, to make them distinctly unique and different, that's going to be the huge challenge from what the women and the men can do.
Just separate them. Just make sure there's a lot of space between them. So, I mean, we're already going to be comparing them to every other Money in the Bank match. Do what you can to not have us compare the 2 matches on the same night.
Yeah, and I have a theory. I'll save it. The hamster is running on his wheel till the preview show. But anyway,
excellent.
I want to see Marvel movies. Like, I want to see lasers and special effects. I don't care. I think they have a lot of room. There's a question in the corner here from Raymond Laponte.
Yeah.
Labonte says, Anthony, where did you get your accent from for Santino? So that's a good question. So growing up in Mississauga, all my friends are first generation Canadians. So all our parents, I mean, the vast majority of our parents, 90% of our parents are from European countries. In my area, it was Italian, Portuguese, Polish, and Maltese. Our school was really comprised. So anyway, a lot of our parents butchered the language a lot. My next door neighbor, growing up, his nickname is Son of a Gun Ivan, and that's where Son of a Gun came from. And some of the accent is from my uncle. My uncle Tony, the way he spoke there's a lot of Santino in there as well. It's not really, there is an Italian base to it, but it's kind of a general European accent. And
combination?
A combination. Yeah. And there's even, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. He was a prime minister, for God's sake, with a strong French
Chrétien.
Jean Chrétien. So there was an interview one time when Chrétien was saying, first we're going to lower the taxes, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and I'm tolding you, I just get warm up. And I thought it was so funny. So anyway, I take things like that and I'll incorporate them into a promo immediately. Some people might get it, some people might not. And it's also, you know what? I watched a lot of movies in the 80s, a lot of TV in the 80s. So I just make this big giant mishmash of things that I thought were funny over the years. There's probably a lot of Jack Tripper in Santino, that kind of stuff, you know. But generally, it is a somewhat general European accent.
The only thing missing was, as someone who was born and raised on the Danforth, or the Dan, or the, as we used to call it, the Danforth.
Yeah.
That was the only thing missing. I was missing a little bit of that Greek flavor.
Yeah. But, I worked at Mr. Greek actually for a year. Wow.
Cheap plug to Zets, anyways. Love the garlic.
As a first generation Canadian myself, I have to say I really appreciate the accent, Anthony. You're making us all proud.
And as a 19th generation manja cake, I totally believe all the accents I've heard today.
No, big pop for the munja cake reference. I love it because anyway.
Yeah, you're brave, Nug. You're brave for that one.
I know where I am.
It's funny they don't know that expression in the States.
No, they don't.
They don't.
So we actually shortened it. Now it's just caker. We call it caker,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I remember talking to Edge one of the first times I met Edge, and he referred to himself as a caker, and I was like, "Oh, you guys know that you're
Up in North.
Yeah. Oh my
Hey,
God.
there's Cash.
Yeah,
Cash,
Cash decided to wake up right as we're ending.
Right at the end.
Stream.
Perfect. Good timing.
Ooh. Somebody is asking, who is this? Jose Weber?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what Triple H match was your favorite to call? Man, tough to choose, but for me, like I mentioned earlier, from an emotional standpoint, the Eddie tribute show, getting to referee his match, and it wasn't the moment wasn't the actual match itself. It was the moment after the match when we were back privately, and without getting too emotional and behind the scenes, it just the emotions running out from both of us, and the thank you that sits with me more than anything we did out in the ring.
Oh, it's amazing. I guess, guys, we can wrap it up there. I think we've answered the majority of the questions.
Love it.
And just even the nice comments, like Nug, you had a bunch there saying people miss you and they love you, and same with Anthony and Timmy. So, and I love all the Cash compliments. When you guys give my dog compliments, it makes me like the happiest person. So thank you, and just like thanks for hanging out with us. It's an hour out of your day. We appreciate your time, and it's so nice to connect with people during this time. It's so cool.
Yeah, I wanted to, before we shut off here, I know a lot of people like Caroline, you're at home with your folks. Mm-hmm. Anthony's at home with his kid and his wife, and Jimmy's at home with his wife. I'm at home with my wife. But it's just recently I'm seeing a lot of stuff online for people who are doing this by themselves. Yep. They're staying home and they haven't seen anybody for like a month and a half, and they haven't touched another human being in weeks. So if you're one of those people, don't be afraid to reach out and ask your friends for, some help. And if you have a friend that hasn't reached out to you, go ahead, reach out. Just shoot them a text. Make sure that they're okay today. If there are people doing this by themselves, and that's got to be the worst thing of all, give them a call.
100%. Nug, that was perfectly said.
Really quickly, too. I just yesterday, I drove by my brother's place, and he's been isolated. I've been isolated. And we got to see each other. And that was about it, from opposite ends of the driveway, just to hang out and chat in person, even though we weren't. Anyway, it was nice to see him live and in living color. But even there, we maintained our distance. So
good.
It's tough, but like Nug
it's hard
said,
to choke people when you can't touch them.
Virtual
judo.
Virtual sleeper hold.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what was the analogy? You can't call the kids for dinner if it's not ready.
Until it's ready, yeah.
Until it's ready.
Wow.
So that's what I learned today.
Words to live by.
Unless you want them to set the table, that's a different story, though.
I'm going to put that on a T-shirt.
Dinner.
I'm going to look up the old Polish proverbs from Banachek with George Papard, because they always made sense, but they never made sense. So one of my favorites is, when the wolf is chasing your sleigh, throw him a raisin cookie. Don't stop to bake him a cake.
Like, there are so many sayings my parents, like, if I'm going through like something, my parents will have like a Polish saying that they say to me, and when I directly translate it to English, I'm like, this does not make any sense. But like Polish people live by them. So I always, whenever I hear them saying that, I'm like, I love this so much because it's so out of left field.
Yeah. So one of the better ones I remember is you can read every book in the library, but the cheese will still stink after 3 days.
No, I'm not kidding. It's like that though, where it makes sense in Polish, but when you translate it to English, you're like, what?
Or you can be like the Greeks on the Danforth who combine two of them together, and they'll say like a rolling stone is like two in the bush.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
I like when people say he's not a rocket surgeon.
Oh, that's my favorite. It's not rocket surgery, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so. We could have another hour conversation on all of this. This is
True
awesome.
enough.
No kidding.
Everyone, stay healthy, stay well. Tweet us check out the other episodes on Sportsnet YouTube that were put up earlier in the week. There's a bunch of Ask Aftermath questions that we have for you guys. Like, what's your dream tag team match? So we definitely want to hear from you guys. Definitely post that on Twitter using the hashtag Ask Aftermath, and we'll be back next week.
If I can really quickly make a cheap plug for SmackDown tonight, I've been enjoying this redemption story from Jeff Hardy, because as someone who was able to interact and call him a friend and see him go through these struggles and watching him succeed, it's just a great story. I hope you guys tune in to watch it.
Perfect. Oh, okay, great, guys. We'll see everyone next week, and we'll talk to you on Twitter.
You got it.
Vanacek. You've got homework, guys. Watch some Vanacek.
Love it.
Okay, bye, everyone.